The story begins with a quiet young man named Akira sitting in his classroom. One of his classmates walks up to him while Akira is reading a novel on his phone. The boy asks if he likes isekai stories, but Akira simply replies that he just reads whatever he can find for free. Before leaving, the boy tells him to recommend any other free novels if he comes across some. Akira is surprised that someone actually talked to him since he's practically invisible at school. Suddenly, his phone starts glitching and a strange darkness spreads across the classroom ceiling. The darkness forms a glowing magic circle that begins to gather around the students' feet. Everyone gets shocked as the circle teleports them into a giant castle. As they wonder where they are, a strange priest comes out and informs them that a king is about to see them. After the priest steps aside, the kids see a king and princess standing there and wonder who these people are. The king steps out and explains that he summoned the students from another planet to his world called Morrigan. He reveals that they're currently in the Redis Empire of the human continent, which is being invaded by demons. The king tells the kids that, as warriors from another world, they can defeat the demon lord, and they feel excited to start their isekai journey. However, the priest reveals that only one of them can be the legendary hero and asks them to test their abilities. One boy places his hand on a magic ball, but finds out that he's not the hero. The priest tells him that even without the hero status, he is still a powerful soldier. Then, a girl called Yuki finds out that she's a dispel mage, and Tomoya learns that she's a knight. After Shiori learns she is a healer, the priest tells everyone they can view their status even without touching the magic ball. All the kids start checking their own statuses, and Nanace asks Akira about his. Akira reveals that he's an assassin, but feels confused by how overpowered his stats are. Then, Tsukasa steps up on the ball and shows off his potential with the hero class. As the priest praises Tsukasa for his incredible stats, all the students start cheering for their handsome president. However, Akira wonders how Tsukasa became a hero with trash stats, since his own stats are much higher. As Nanace asks him to show his own class, Akira remains silent, wondering if he can trust the shady king about the demon story. Deciding to keep his overpowered class a secret, Akira uses a conceal spell to hide his presence. Just then, Nanace thinks he's gone missing and leaves, while Asahina tests his class. Once everyone is done with their tests, the priest informs everyone that he'll prepare special equipment for all of them and asks them to rest in their assigned rooms. Feeling relieved he wasn't exposed, Akira follows the students while still concealing himself. Noticing a camera in a hallway, he realizes that the king is monitoring the students and feels glad he chose not to trust him. However, he fails to notice a knight watching him from behind. Later at night, Akira finds an abandoned storage room and decides to rest there. After settling down, he decides to snoop around the building for intel. Watching the city's foreign scenery, Akira feels surprised that he really is in another world. He jumps around the building's towers, shocked by his superhuman abilities. Then, he hears some voices in a room and conceals himself to spy on them. Akira hears the princess telling the king that the students are just clueless children with special classes. Feeling confident, the king tells her to begin with his plan, and she leaves the room. Standing behind the king, Akira wonders what he's up to and thinks that he can easily end his life. The king feels disturbed by his presence, but when he turns around, he finds no one there and goes back to work. The next day, Akira takes some lunch while still concealing himself. Wondering if he should tell the students about the king's plans, he realizes they wouldn't believe him anyway. At a nearby table, Tsukasa stands up and tells the students that the king has done them all a favor by summoning them with powerful abilities. Tsukasa thinks that they should all work together and repay the king by defeating the demons. As all the students agree to support their hero, Akira realizes they've been duped by the king's fake story. After lunch, the knight commander called Saren gathers all the heroes outside for training. As Saren brags about his title as the country's last defense, his partner Jills reminds him to act humbly. Then, Saren informs the students that they'll receive a special training for a month before going to a labyrinth to fight monsters. Knowing they have no combat experience, Saren reassures the students that he'll help them learn the ropes. While the students get pumped for their training, Akira remains in the shadows, wondering what Saren is trying to do. As Akira leaves to gather more intel, Saren leaves the kids with Jills and leaves the ground. Akira walks towards a water fountain, but Saren calls out to him. Akira is surprised, wondering if the conceal skill had a time limit. However, Saren reassures him that the conceal conceal spell is working, but it can't hide Akira from him. Saren explains that he has mystic eyes, which give him heat vision that allows him to detect people's body heat. Wanting to protect himself, Akira reaches for his knife, but Saren tells him he won't expose him to anyone. Knowing Saren is on the king's side, Akira doubts whether he should trust him, but the knight captain tells him he has his own reasons. Then, he asks Akira to keep their meeting secret from the king, and Akira finally decides to trust him. After they sit down to talk, Akira tells Saren that he wants to read the king's archives to learn more about their world. Saren asks him what level his conceal skill is, and Akira reveals that it's maxed out. However, his other skills are all level 1, so he doesn't know how to train them. Surprised, Saren smiles and offers to teach him, saying that the archives don't have much useful information anyway. Akira feels excited to get stronger and explore this new world, but thinks that he still wants to return home to his family. Saren agrees, but thinks that he should get stronger to survive until he finds a way back home. Akira feels guilty for receiving Saren's guidance for free, so the knight tells him he can repay him with stories of his home planet. As the charming knight holds out his hand, Akira smiles and shakes it, and formally introduces himself out of respect. Once they start training together, Akira learns that aside from humans and demons, elves and beastmen also populate their world. While Saren puts Akira through intense physical training, he explains that class levels can only be increased by defeating monsters, but he can increase his skill levels by training on his own. As they continue training each day, Saren feels surprised as he learns about Earth and all its technological advancements. Thinking about how he found all the technology boring and ordinary, Akira feels like he misses his old world in this new place. After a while, Saren is in a room with Jills, who wonders why he spent so much time with Akira. Saren tells him that Akira's stories were just too good, and Jills also feels fascinated by them. As Saren reveals that Akira is the true hero with a max level conceal, Jills feels surprised since only the first hero of their world had a max skill. Then, as Akira approaches the room, Jills leaves to give Saren some privacy with him, giving Saren a book from the king's archive. Akira says that it has some troublesome information. Saren nods, confirming that the book contains his plans to dethrone the king. Knowing Akira would find it, Saren explains that he wrote book himself and disguised it as a cookbook. He tells Akira that the king is an awful man who is trying to control the world for his own benefit. Remembering the king's program, Akira falls into thought. Then, Saren tells him that the royal knights all have their issues with the king, and Akira thinks that they're trying to remove the king without much violence. Impressed by his observation, Saren nods, and Akira notes that as an assassin, he can easily take out the king without anyone noticing. He reveals that he easily entered the king's study on his first day, but he couldn't find the willpower to end his life. Saren nods, saying that just because he has an assassin class, it doesn't mean he should force himself to take others' lives. Akira thinks that he wouldn't want his family to find out he's a murderer. As Saren agrees with his decision, Akira wonders why he's trusting him so much. Saren explains that he's trusting him because he shows wisdom and promise, like the day he decided not to trust the king's word at face value. In Saren's eyes, this means that Akira is a person who knows how to deal with problems on their own and doesn't get fooled so easily. Growing silent, Akira quietly explains that he never received much attention as a kid. This confuses Saren, so Akira tells him that he's the only person who has ever praised him so much. Saren smiles and asks Akira if he can help him peacefully dethrone the king as thanks for his praise. Akira tells him he'll consider it and leaves the room. After the full month of training, Saren announces to the students that they'll explore the great labyrinth of Kantainen. As a crowd gathers around the warriors for a send-off, Akira feels surprised that they're receiving so much attention. He notices a girl watching from a distance and asks her what she's doing. The girl gets angry, saying that their people sacrificed so much to summon the heroes. Akira tells her he doesn't know what happened, so she tells him they'll meet again once he learns. Afterward, the heroes enter the labyrinth, where they engage in a battle against monsters. One student triggers a trap, which exposes them to giant ogres. As Akira takes out one ogre, he asks Saren if they should retreat, and he agrees. To clear the way for his students, Saren uses a divine sword spell and takes out all the monsters blocking their path. However, when they leave through the gate, they find even more monsters blocking the path. Tsukasa remembers a smoke bomb the princess gave him for emergencies and decides to use it. The bomb takes out the small monsters, but but from its smoke, a powerful minotaur monster appears. As Gilles enters the room with the others, he feels shocked by the powerful minotaur on such a low level. Akira rushes to attack and avoids the minotaur's strike and gets on top of its body. He strikes at the monster's body, but its tough skin shatters his blade into pieces. Shocked, Akira avoids another attack and returns to Tsukasa, who feels too exhausted to fight. Tsukasa feels guilty that he can't fight, but Akira tells him that he needs to rely on the others to help him as well. He tells Tsukasa that the other students were also trained to fight, but Tsukasa starts panicking, thinking he's a failure as the hero. Akira wonders why Tsukasa is acting so weird, and asks a dispel mage to cure him. She steps forward and uses her spell, removing a demonic curse that was putting Tsukasa into panic. With Tsukasa cured, Akira stands with Saren and asks him if he can use a certain technique. Saren nods and uses a lightning flash to strike and stun the minotaur in front of the shocked students. Using this opportunity, Akira silently appears behind the minotaur and prepares to use his ultimate shadow magic. The shadow magic creates a dark circle underneath Akira, who commands it to shoot tendrils of darkness at the minotaur. The minotaur shakes off the dark tentacles and swings its axe to attack, but the tentacles quickly pierce its arm. In front of Saren's surprised eyes, Akira summons dozens of tentacles that pierce through the minotaur's entire body and begin dragging it down. Akira slowly brings down his hand, and the monster sinks into the darkness before getting its head sliced off. After the monster is defeated, Akira pants heavily from exhaustion, but suddenly, the darkness starts struggling to free itself from his control. He falls to his knees from the darkness's assault, but Saren pats his shoulder to calm him down. With his teacher's support, Akira calms down and seals off the remaining shadows. Seeing him drained, Saren notes how heavy the shadow spell is, while Akira feels happy that he survived the dangerous fight. Afterward, they return home, and Saren thanks him for saving all his classmates. Akira thinks that he couldn't have done it without his support, recalling that he didn't even know about the shadow spell before Saren taught him about it. Saren notes that while the shadow skill is very powerful, Akira should be careful to use it since it's so hard to control. Then, Saren gives him a katana created by the first hero. As Akira asks why he didn't give the weapon to the current hero, Tsukasa, Saren explains that Tsukasa already has a holy sword. He also informs Akira that he stole the katana from the king's vault, so it can draw some unwanted attention. Despite the warning, Akira accepts the katana and finds some words engraved on its blade. As he reads the words, Akira learns that they're an encouragement from the first hero to his successor. He smiles, wishing he could meet the legendary hero, and Saren wishes for the same. While talking about heroes, Akira suddenly remembers Tsukasa's curse, as he recalls that they couldn't remove the curse no matter how hard they tried. Saren thinks that he knows the curse's source. Meanwhile, in the castle, the princess curses Tsukasa with a magic crystal to act as a false hero for her. Suddenly, a katana slashes at her, but the princess dodges it. After the attack cuts through the crystal and breaks the curse, the princess asks for Akira's identity. He points his sword at her and asks why she's cursing people, so the princess explains that she's doing everything for the king. Akira asks her why she's so loyal to the king, but the princess repeats her words, showing she has no mind of her own. He leaves her to her own devices, while the princess searches through a shelf, looking through crystals that control all of her students. Akira reports this curse to Saren, who asks if the princess saw his face. When Akira nods, Saren tells him that the princess is also the king's puppet, and warns him not to sleep in the palace anymore. He explains that the princess can curse everyone except the hero, so she will try to get rid of Akira instead. As Saren tells Akira that the palace guards will turn the place upside down to search for him, Akira asks his teacher why he isn't angry at him for revealing himself. In response, Saren smiles, saying that it's his job as an adult to cover for his young student's mistake. Akira sighs, wishing that the adults in his world were as responsible as him, and Saren asks him to bring him home if he can return to Earth, thinking it'd be a huge bother to show Saren around the world. Akira quickly changes his mind. The next day, he wakes up in a tree after being disturbed by a noise. He heads down to check out the commotion and finds the students gathered around someone. Tsukasa is surprised by Akira and asks where he was, so he explains that he was just sleeping. Akira notices that Tsukasa is acting normal again, but when Tsukasa lowers his head in sadness, he realizes something is wrong. Akira rushes deeper into the crowd, only to find Saren dead. dead on the ground. Holding his teacher's body, Akira screams in pain, but the students accuse him of stabbing him with his own dagger. Akira reminds them that his dagger was broken in the dungeon, but realizes that they're being controlled by the princess. Tsukasa tries to defend Akira, but the king also points his finger at him, accusing him of assassinating the knight commander. As the princess smirks at Akira, he realizes he's been set up and quickly escapes using a concealment spell. He makes his way to Jill's, who informs him that the king sent his own assassination squad, called Night Ravens, to take out Saren and pin the blame on him. Jill's tells him that Saren prepared some travel equipment for him, and Akira leaves after thanking him. After grabbing the equipment, Akira leaves the palace, wondering if his teacher knew his end was coming. Later at night, the princess tells the king that she has cursed everyone except Akira. She thinks that they need an excuse to start a war with the Eastern Kingdoms, and the king decides to use the students as his pawns. Although he thinks that Akira can't survive in the dangerous wilderness, the king still orders the princess to send the Night Ravens after him just in case. Meanwhile, Akira hides in the labyrinth, remembering his teacher's advice to use the maze for protection. He also recalls that the labyrinth is a great place to level up his assassin class, but people usually avoid it because of the danger. According to Saren, even Akira's conceal spell can't hide him from the higher level monster's sense of smell. However, he can level up his conceal spell to hide even his smell and body heat to remain safe in deeper levels. With this information in mind, he spends his days in the labyrinth, carefully dealing with the dangerous monsters. Saren's advice continues to guide Akira, and he focuses on getting to level 100 to unlock a special skill. While continuing his training, Akira advances deeper into the labyrinth until he encounters a boss level. Knowing that it's going to be a life or death battle, Akira enters the boss room, where a ferocious chimera lies in wait. The chimera immediately pounces on Akira, who narrowly dodges its attacks. Then, the chimera's tail shoots poison at him, which distracts Akira, giving it the chance to trap him under its foot. Feeling crushed by the monster's heavy weight, Akira refuses to quit, wanting to avenge his teacher no matter what. As the chimera smacks him away with a swipe of its paw, Akira decides to go all out. He activates his powerful shadow magic, which captures the monster with its tentacles. The tentacles obliterate the chimera's body, ripping it into pieces. As Akira lies on the floor, exhausted from the fight, his shadow automatically activates some healing magic to restore his health. Back at the palace, Tsukasa tries to convince his classmates to fight the demon lord with him. Since none of them offers to help, he realizes that they're all under the princess's control. However, when Asahina unexpectedly offers to join him, a few other students also find the courage to go along. After they all leave the palace, Tsukasa asks the others why they're following him despite the princess's curse. The dispel mage, Yuki, tells him that she can sense that none of the students here are cursed at the moment. Asahina also explains that one night he was controlled by someone to cut off the princess's curse crystals, after which he found a katana, and everyone was released from the mind control. While the students discuss their plans, Jill's waits on a rooftop, recalling that he was the one who used his subjugation skill to take control of Asahina's mind and free a few of them from the curse. As Jill's wishes the students good luck, Asahina thinks that they should find Akira to learn more about the royal family's real plans. Thinking about Akira's silent nature, Asahina regrets not standing up for him in the royal palace. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Akira dreams about a memory from Earth when Asahina found him working at a construction site. After Akira asked him to keep his job a secret from his sister, he learned that Asahina also has a younger sister called Keika. Once Akira wakes up from the dream, he finds out that the experience from the boss fight upgraded his stats. He is shocked to see a full health bar and finds out that the shadow skill gained 2 levels with just 1 usage. With the long road ahead of him, Akira decides not to think too much about his experience and heads deeper into the dungeon. Inside, he encounters a slime, so Akira feels surprised that the weak monster is in such a deep level. He easily takes out the slime, but its melted body reveals an elf girl who was trapped inside. Looking at the girl, Akira decides to use his Strange World's Eye skill, but it shows him some terrifying scenes. He quickly deactivates the skill and makes a mental note to never use it unless absolutely necessary. Nearby, the elf girl wakes up from her slumber. Akira asks her if she's fine, and she nods, while her eyes glow a strange color. Knowing that her health has dropped to less than than 2%. Akira decides not to question her and realizes that she can also use the world's eye skill. When the girl asks him about their location, Akira informs her that they're in the labyrinth's 75th floor. She asks him what he's doing in the dangerous dungeon, so Akira tells her that he's trying to level up. However, the girl collapses in his arms before he can say anything else, noticing that she has a severe fever. Akira takes her to a safe place in the dungeon to rest. After some time, the elf wakes up from the sound of her own hungry stomach, and Akira chuckles. He gives her some water to drink and tells her to rest for the fever, but the girl says she can't sleep on an empty stomach. Hearing her complaint, Akira pulls out some hot porridge and she quickly gulps it down. Seeing her appetite, he thinks that she'll recover from her fever in no time. The elf girl is surprised, wondering if Akira knows how to care for the sick. He reveals that his mother often fell ill, so he learned how to take care of sick people. Then, the girl notices a carving on the dungeon walls, so Akira explains that he marked all the dungeon floors so he can keep track of them. She asks him why he went down to the 69th level from all the way up to 75. So Akira tells her that it was the closest source of water near them. Realizing that he carried her to the lower floor, the girl wonders if he touched her, and he silences her intrusive thoughts. Then, she lies back down to rest and reveals that she's elven royalty. Akira tells her that he already knew after using the world's eye skill, and the elf tells him that nobody has ever treated her with such kindness before. As she falls asleep, Akira uses a danger detection spell to guard them and closes his eyes to sleep. Once he's out, the girl turns around and smiles at him, feeling warm from his kindness. Afterward, they explore the dungeon together and make their way down to level 80. As the elf girl helps Akira in his fights, he asks why she's still tagging along. She explains that her destination is also lower in the dungeon, so Akira warns her to be careful. The girl reminds him that even though she's not a hero, she is still strong enough to protect herself. As they enter a boss floor together, a blue dragon shoots an energy beam at them. Akira uses conceal to hide himself, while the girl uses a gravity spell to bring the dragon down from the air. However, the dragon detects Akira from his mana and swipes him away with its claw. The elf warns Akira about his mana and tells him to hide it, but he knows it's too difficult for him. As the dragon charges full speed at him, Akira unleashes a shadow hand at it, which stuns the beast. He takes this chance to stab into the dragon's eye, and the creature roars in pain before falling lifelessly to the ground. The shocked elf asks him how he used the shadow spell, so Akira tells her that since he can't hide his mana in the surroundings, he just unleashed it all in a powerful single attack. She gets even more shocked that he can wield such power, but suddenly, the dragon's body starts glowing in front of their eyes. Once the glow disappears, Akira is surprised to see a sleeping cat lying on the ground. The elf girl, Amelia, explains that this creature is known as a black cat and that it actually used a shape-shifting skill to transform into a dragon. Surprised that she knows this, Akira wonders if she got the information from her world eyes. She nods and asks why he isn't using his own, so he responds that he can't control the power yet. Akira thinks that his level is too low to use the world eye skill, but Amelia tells him that he's only rejecting the power. Suddenly, the black cat wakes up, embarrassed that it lost to a bunch of kids. Akira is surprised that the cat can talk, since he didn't know floor creatures could possess intelligence, but the cat proudly reveals he's a superior beast created by the demon lord. Both realize they're dealing with a narcissist, but the cat ignores them. Seeing it boast so arrogantly, Akira draws his dagger and reminds the cat that it's too hurt to move. The cat calmly replies that Akira can do whatever he wants, but before he does, it has a message from the demon lord. The cat reveals that the demon lord has invited him to Volcano in the demon continent. Akira wonders why the demon lord is interested in him. He asks the cat if the demon lord knows about his origins, but the cat shakes his head, saying that his master is a mysterious man. After delivering the message, the cat lies down and tells Akira to finish him off. When Akira refuses, he insists again. The black cat reminds him that demons and humans are mortal enemies, but Akira replies that he's not interested in that rivalry. Remembering the treacherous human king, he knows that something is fishy with the human-demon hatred. However, Amelia reminds him that if he doesn't dispose of the dungeon boss, the door won't open, so they'll be unable to progress. Agreeing with her, the black cat asks Akira why he's taking so long to slay him. In response, he admits that he's just a cat lover, which leaves the monster completely speechless. Akira is excited to have a talking pet cat, but the black cat reminds him that he'll starve to death if he remains stuck on the boss floor. Akira wonders if there's really no way to progress without ending the cat, so Amelia thinks that there's one thing they can try. She explains that if he takes the cat as his familiar, the dungeon will stop regarding it as a boss and open the floor's door for them. Hearing this, the black cat thinks there's no way Akira has enough magic control to perform the blood contract ritual. However, Amelia reminds him that Akira just executed the difficult shadow spell with great mastery, so he definitely has the skill to pull it off. Akira wonders what would happen if he somehow fails, and Amelia tells him that both he and the cat could die. Despite the danger, Akira decides to go through with the ritual, and the cat allows him to do it, not caring if he loses his life in the process. Akira gets irritated by its nonchalant behavior and asks why it doesn't care about its life. The cat responds that it has lived for too long, and Akira asks Amelia to explain how to start the ritual. After Amelia explains that he has to start by naming the cat, Akira thinks for a moment and decides to name it Night, inspired by its black fur. The name leaves the cat momentarily silent. Akira then takes its paw to begin the ritual. As Amelia watches with concern, a gentle mana field surrounds Akira, who finds himself lost in a deep sea. Suddenly, the scenery shifts and he gets launched into a burning city, where he sees Night roaring on a rooftop. Night destroys a building, releasing large chunks of rubble that bury innocent people. This enrages Akira, who yells at Night to stop, but it turns around to attack him. Akira blocks the attack, but Night still manages to hurt him. Night snarls and tells Akira to kill him, otherwise it will end his life completely. Night launches another attack, which Akira jumps to avoid, but the cat swipes a powerful paw at his face, knocking him back. In the real world, Akira recoils from the blow, worrying Amelia even more. Back in the soul world, Akira gets serious and throws a dagger at Night, who appreciates the positive response. Night calls Akira to come closer and kill him. Then he jumps to end the fight. However, as Night extends its claws to attack, Akira falls on it and gets impaled without any resistance. This leaves Night completely shocked, and Akira says that no matter what, he won't kill him. Akira points out that Night also doesn't like to take innocent lives, but Night claims that as a monster, it's in his blood to slay innocent humans. Knowing that even the cat is tired of mindless violence, Akira says that as long as Night follows him, he will never have to kill innocent people again, so he can live free of guilt. His comforting words dissolve the painful memory of the burning city, and Night unites with Akira in peace. Once the ritual is over, Akira wakes up in the real world and puts his hand on Night's body. A new symbol glows on his hand and transforms the mark on the cat's body to resemble itself. Seeing this, Amelia is relieved that the pact was successfully completed. After the cat wakes up, it tells Akira that he'll follow him to see how far he can go. Akira nods and introduces himself as his master, and the cat gracefully accepts its new name as Night. Once Night accepts his name, Amelia greets him as well, and he recognizes her as his master's companion. Soon, the dungeon floor starts glowing, and a magic circle appears on the ground. Night explains that since he's not the boss anymore, the dungeon has created a floor exit. However, Akira refuses to exit yet since Night is still exhausted from their fight. Seeing that they're going to stay on the boss's floor, Amelia gets excited and decides to have a friendly chat so everyone can know each other better. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Tsukasa and the rest arrive at a city called Yamato, which was created by the first hero of this world. Seeing the traditional Japanese aesthetic, Tsukasa's party looks forward to exploring the exotic culture. After getting dressed in beautiful kimonos, the party sits down to eat some Japanese food. Once they're settled down, Tsukasa gets serious and starts recalling their mission. He points out that they're running low on funds, so one of them suggests joining the Adventurers Guild to accept quests. Then, Tsukasa tells his friends to get their hands on some books so they can start researching for more information on this new world. Daisuke wonders if they can find a way to go back home, but Tsukasa thinks that the fastest way to get back home might truly be to defeat the Demon Lord. Asahina wonders why he's so confident, so Tsukasa explains that the king should know the way to send them back since he's the one who summoned them in the first place. Shiori also recalls that the rest of their class is still in the palace, so they'll have to go back to negotiate with them anyway. Nodding, Tsukasa says that they'll head out for the demon continent after getting all the information and money they need. But Asahina thinks they should stay in Yamato for a while. He explains that his intuition skill is detecting that Akira is much stronger than they all are, so they need to find him and get his help. The rest of the students agree with Asahina, but Daisuke still suspects Akira of assassinating Saren. Asahina reminds him that their memories were altered by the king's magic, and Yuki wonders if a lone wolf like Akira would even help them. Shori asks Tsukasa if he agrees with Asahina's plan, and he falls into thought. Tsukasa points out that while Akira is certainly the strongest of their group, he's so forgetful that he doesn't even remember Tsukasa, despite being his classmate since kindergarten. Asahina also agrees that Akira isn't a very friendly guy. Tsukasa thinks that with the vast gap in power between them and Akira, he would never listen to anything they say. In his eyes, they should get as strong as Akira first before finding him, so Tsukasa decides to stay in Yamato until they become stronger than the monsters in the surrounding area. After everyone agrees with his reasonable plan, Tsukasa begins their mission. Back in the dungeon, Amelia recalls getting hunted down by her own people. After her little sister drove her out of her country, Amelia fell into a lake, after which she washed ashore and got swallowed by a black slime. Knight wonders how she survived being inside the slime, since they usually digest their prey. Amelia doesn't care, since she's just happy to be alive. Akira thinks that she should try to return home, but she doesn't feel confident that anyone would welcome her. Seeing her so insecure, he tells her that perhaps her sister might listen to her despite their bad blood. Thinking about family, he smiles, remembering his own little sister, called Yui. One day, Akira had bought a new phone for her since hers had a cracked screen. Yui felt guilty that her brother had to work so hard for her, but their mother told Yui to accept her brother's gift since he loves her so much. Hearing her sick mother's words, Yui finally accepted Akira's gift, and he sighs as he completes the story. Knight feels curious if Akira wants to go back home to see his family, and he nods. However, Akira reveals that he has something he must do in this world before he can return. He explains that in his previous life, he was always a loner who stayed unnoticed. Once he got ice skate, Akira felt like it was completely normal to get the conceal skill. Somehow, Captain Saren easily spotted him and taught him how to use his powers to survive in the foreign world. Remembering how Saren was murdered in cold blood by a bunch of low-life scum just to frame him, Akira's aura glows with intense rage. Overwhelmed by fury, he declares that he'll never return home before avenging Saren, but Amelia snaps him out of his thoughts. Knight reminds him to keep his bloodlust under control and asks if he's talking about the famous Commander Saren. Akira nods and suddenly pulling out a loose glove, which Knight tries to catch. Knight gets confused by his actions, so he says that they should lighten the mood by playing together. Knight reminds him to get serious since their souls are linked, so if either one loses his life, the other one would lose it as well. Akira nods, but notes that since they can use telepathy, no matter how far they're apart, it's all worth it. Once they're all rested up, Akira decides to head out. He asks Knight where the floor exit leads to, but Knight doesn't know either. Akira learns that only a few demons know how to create magic circles, so he decides to visit the Demon Lord after taking his revenge to obtain a teleportation circle of his own. Upon seeing the teleportation circle, Amelia mentions a rumor that some magic circles can transport people to the place where one of them most strongly desires to go. After hearing this, Akira realizes that they'll end up in a random place, but Amelia says that she'll be happy as long as she's with him. Akira is surprised, and they step forward on the circle. Although he thinks about returning home to his family, he decides not to leave before finishing his business in this foreign world. Once the teleportation circle activates, the group ends up in front of the holy tree of the elf continent. Much to Amelia's shock, Akira feels pleasantly surprised that they're in the elven homeland, but Amelia is anxious since she wasn't ready to go home yet. Suddenly, an archer fires an arrow at her, but Akira steps in to protect her. Then, he takes out his dagger and deflects another arrow before instantly getting behind the elf. As Amelia runs towards Akira, she finds him holding an elf soldier called Liam. Despite the dangerous position, Liam starts yapping at Amelia to get out of this land, so Akira knocks him out. She thanks him for protecting her, but Akira notes that the rest of the elves have already surrounded them. As the elf archers point their arrows at the group, Amelia's little sister, called Kilika, walks out, calling her a traitor. Kilika arrogantly threatens her sister, saying that she should never have touched her while being a child of Blight, and Akira realizes that things are about to get really heated. Before this happened, Amelia was walking through her garden, accompanied by an entire troop of elf soldiers guarding her. The princess felt uneasy with all the attention, but one of the guards reminded her that her safety was of utmost importance. Nearby, she watched her sister, Kilika, practicing combat drills with the other elf soldiers, effortlessly defeating them with elegance. As Amelia admired her younger sister's skills, a guard gently reminded her that, no matter what, she would still inherit the crown as the eldest sister. One day, Liam asked Amelia to call off their engagement, but she told him she couldn't make that decision on her own. He would have to speak with her father first. Suddenly, Kilika appeared and coldly told Amelia that Liam didn't want to marry her because she was a cursed child of blight. That night, Kilika gathered the soldiers to hunt down Amelia, accusing her of being a traitor for trying to become queen while being cursed. As Liam declared that the children of blight didn't deserve the throne, all the elves aimed their bows at Amelia, just like in the present day, where she once again finds herself surrounded. Kilika arrogantly tells Amelia that she isn't welcome, but Akira steps forward with a calm smile. He asks Kilika what proof she has to accuse her sister of being a criminal. In response, she shows him her purple arm, claiming that Amelia deliberately poisoned her while pretending it was a healing potion, so she deserves death as a traitor. Amelia says that she just gave her a normal potion, but Kilika claims her sister is lying. As her Amelia falls silent, Kilika approaches Akira, saying she's glad he brought the traitor back to her. When she's close enough, she activates one of her skills. Amelia instantly realizes what her sister is trying to do and warns Akira to close his eyes, but it's already too late. Kilika has used her mesmerize skill to take control of Akira's heart, meaning Amelia's only friend has now been stolen from her. She firmly tells Kilika to undo her skill and apologize to Akira, thinking that he deserves the right to choose for himself. Kilika feels upset since this is the first time her sister has put her in her place. Just then, Akira calmly tells the girls that he's fine, explaining that the mind control spell didn't work on him. Kilika wonders why her spell failed, so Knight tells her that she's just too weak to control Akira. She can't believe that Akira could possibly be stronger than her, but he's already grown tired of Kilika's arrogance. He orders her to clear Amelia's name of all the false accusations she made against her, as Akira points out that Amelia would never stoop to dirty tricks. Kilika gets angry and orders her soldiers to take aim at him. Ready to fight, Akira starts summoning his shadow, but suddenly, the Elf King stops his soldiers. The king asks Kilika what she's doing, so one of the elves begins explaining that Amelia has returned. However, he gets silenced by the king, who remains focused on his daughter. Kilika feels nervous since she thought her father wasn't coming back soon, but he reveals that he returned early for some important business. As he repeats his question, Kilika shrinks back in fear, and the rest of her soldiers start telling the king that it's all Amelia's fault. The king easily sees through them, knowing that Kilika is mind controlling them. He tells her to await her punishment and walks up to his elder daughter. The king apologizes to Amelia for sister's conduct and promises to discipline her. Then, he turns to Akira and asks him to leave the kingdom. Amelia tells her dad that Akira saved her in the dungeon and brought her home, but he reminds her that other races are forbidden from staying in their land. Hearing this, she decides to go with Akira, but the king gets furious, saying that it's her duty to be the future ruler of the elf race. Akira steps in, saying that Amelia deserves to make her own choice. The king warns him to stay out of their business, so Akira reminds him that he's not obligated to follow his orders. Akira then warns the king that he'll put him to sleep if he keeps pressuring Amelia. At that moment, the king realizes that Liam was defeated by Akira and understands he's no pushover. Deciding to settle things once and for all, the king proposes a duel. However, he announces that Kilika will fight in his place and informs Akira that the duel will be held beneath the holy tree, as elven tradition dictates. As Akira walks to the tree, he asks Amelia what a child of blight is. She tells him that there is an elf superstition that whenever elven twins are born, the child who is different from their parents would bring a huge calamity to their race. Knight notes that these rumors are just baseless superstitions, surprised that Kilika has been using Amelia's different eye and hair color to turn the elves against her. As Knight complains about Kilika's rough treatment, Akira tells Amelia that her strange hair and eyes look beautiful. Once they reach the holy tree, Akira tells Knight he won't use his conceal spell since he wants all the elves to watch him destroy their fighter. Amelia warns him, saying that Kilika is the elves' strongest swordsman. Akira notices how much praise she has for her sister and turns around to face her in in battle. As the Elf King orders Kilika to get ready, she draws her sword against Akira. He doesn't even bother unsheathing his sword beforehand, which annoys Kilika. Meanwhile, Akira thanks Amelia for getting angry for his sake and tells her that he'll free her from the confines of the elf race. Soon, the Elf King starts the fight, and Kilika makes the first move. As she attacks Akira with rapid strikes, he avoids all of her moves with ease. He acknowledges that Kilika is strong, but he easily phases through her attacks. In an instant, he dodges one of her strikes and pushes her back. Knight sees that his master has the upper hand in this battle. Akira tells her to just give up, which enrages her even more, and she charges her sword with a wind spell and launches it towards him. The green tornado slams into Akira's sword, forcing him to dodge the attack. Knight is surprised that Kilika can use buff magic, so Amelia tells her that this is Kilika's original spell. As Kilika continues attacking, Akira notes that her eyes look sad. She denies feeling any sadness and keeps attacking him, so Akira gets under her strikes and sweeps her off her feet. This time, Akira puts his sword to her neck, but Kilika still refuses to give up, claiming that Amelia took away everything from her. She attacks him again, forcing him back with her powerful energy. Since the energy spills over to the spectators, Akira orders Knight to protect Amelia. Meanwhile, Kilika claims that Amelia took away everything from her, recalling her childhood. Back then, the sisters used to get along great, but when their father found out that Amelia had the legendary spirit medium class, the king immediately decided to make her his successor. After that day, everyone started doting on Amelia, leaving Kilika completely behind. Remembering those painful days, Kilika goes berserk, but just then, Liam gives Amelia a special item to help her sister. After accepting the item, she summons a magical twig from the tree and releases it into the sky. The twig compresses its magical energy before bursting, releasing a purifying glow that removes Kilika's spell from all of the mind-controlled elf soldiers. As she realizes her spell is failing, Kilika starts crying and blames everything on her elder sister once again. She launches a powerful attack towards Akira, who realizes that the people behind him will lose their lives if he dodges it. Finally, he decides to use his shadow magic and opens a portal of darkness that creates several shadow hands. The hands start devouring Kilika's energy, but she keeps struggling to push Akira back. After overpowering Kilika, the shadows start devouring her body, so Akira redirects them towards himself. When the shadows return, Akira feels a strange aura coming from his body, but Kilika charges at him again. After blocking her attack, he takes her down, knocking the sword out of her hands. Akira approaches Kilika, saying there's no way everyone would ignore a talented girl like her. Kilika scoffs, thinking she's so weak that even Liam broke free from her mesmerize spell. However, he reveals that he was never mind-controlled in the first place. As Amelia explains the situation to Kilika, her father also comes over, apologizing for neglecting her. He informs that he's the one who took something away from her. He erased her childhood memories and now uses his power to restore them. In her dreams, Kilika remembers training her best to get stronger with Liam. However, she never felt like she was strong enough, so she ran deep into a dungeon for special training. One day, Kilika met a shady figure who gave her an orb to summon powerful monsters that would help her level up faster. The innocent young girl took the orb to the labyrinth, where she used it to release her training monsters. However, the monsters were too powerful for her, so he was forced to escape. Somehow, the monsters followed her out of the labyrinth, so Kilika decided to fight them to protect her people. As she fought valiantly, the elven soldiers quickly heard about the monster incident and led a troop to find her. However, when Liam got close to Kilika, one of the monsters sneaked up on him and pierced through his stomach. In front of the sisters, Liam collapsed dead. While the shady figure laughed at the tragedy it caused, Kilika's father explains that since she was heartbroken by Liam's passing, he used a spell to erase her memories of that incident. Afterwards, Amelia awakened her legendary spirit medium magic and created two new spells, Gravity and Resurrection. Using a special technique, she was able to revive Liam, so Kilika never even realized he had died. Once Liam came back, everyone else started treating Kilika differently to hide the truth from her, which led to her feeling isolated. The king feels guilty that, in his efforts to protect her, he ended up isolating and hurting her instead. However, he thinks that she is now strong enough to handle the truth, while Akira realizes that he was just used as a tool to awaken Kilika's strength and deliver the truth to her. Just then, Liam also apologizes to Kilika for pretending to be hypnotized, saying that he was just trying to keep her apart from her elder sister, so their hatred didn't get any worse. The king explains that Liam's body fused with a leaf from their sacred tree, so he became immune to her mind control. He apologizes for being unable to prevent her sister's exile, while Kilika feels guilty that she became her beloved sister's enemy. However, Amelia comforts her, saying that she knew Kilika always had a kind heart. In Amelia's eyes, his sister is a strong girl who always tries her best to gain strength and help others. Hearing her thoughts, Kilika bursts into tears and hugs her sister, while everyone else rushes to help with her injuries. Akira watches as Kilika becomes the center of attention, noticing that Liam even confessed to her in all the chaos. After everything has settled down, the king offers a welcome party to Akira, who asks if Amelia is free to go. The king nods before asking him where he'll go next. Akira tells him he'll explore the Beastfolk continent since Knight mentioned they have good quality weapons there. Meanwhile, elsewhere at sea, Asahina and the others depart for their journey, since they got tired of waiting for Akira. Their group has decided to head over to the Beastfolk continent to get their weapons upgraded there. Back at the Elven Forest, Kilika wishes her sister good luck before she leaves. Akira says goodbye to Liam, who tells him to take good care of Amelia. He nods, but reminds Liam to focus on the girl by his side as well. The Elf King chimes in, saying that Liam has already made his feelings clear for Kilika, so it's up to her if she wants to marry him. While the two of them look at each other, the Elf King offers to escort Akira and Amelia to the seaport. Akira wonders why they need so much protection, so the king explains that bandits have been kidnapping travelers on their way to the sea. The king also reveals that he had returned early to his country just to deal with these bandits. Even though Amelia thinks she'll be fine with Akira's protection, the king still feels worried for her. Thinking that the king is going with them, Kilika decides to go as well, and the rest of the elves join her. Naturally, Akira refuses to let such a giant group accompany them. As Akira and Amelia leave in a carriage, he wonders why Knight was so quiet the entire time. Knight explains that nobody likes demons, so he just didn't want to attract any trouble. Akira is surprised that Knight is being so considerate towards them, and asks if the Demon Lord will get upset by his actions. Knight nods and explains that the Demon Lord is connected to him and can see everything happening around him through that link. However, he still allows Knight to act independently, so he can help Akira as much as he wants. Akira says that Knight can help the Demon Lord if he ends up fighting him, but Knight remains silent. Then, Knight explains that the Demon Lord is interested in Akira, so he doesn't need to act against him. Amelia thinks that the Demon Lord might want to have good relations with Akira, and Knight agrees. He points out that the Demon Lord saw Akira's unique shadow magic during his battle with Kilika. It turns out that shadow magic is very rare in their world, and most people can't use it as freely as Akira. Akira says that he just condensed the shadows as armor to protect it from consuming Kilika, but Knight thinks it's still an impressive feat. He suggests calling the technique shadow clad. Just then, Akira detects something nearby. After the carriage stops, he gets out to check the area. The elf carriage rider uses a pair of binoculars to spot some bandits approaching them. However, the bandits were ready for this, and they have a little elf girl taken as a hostage. Akira notes that they must also have detected him from a distance, as the bandits give them some rope to tie themselves up. One of them immediately notices that Amelia is an elf princess, and their leader gets excited, saying that their Lord Graham would love their target. Suddenly, Akira vanishes into the shadows and takes out all the bandits before they can react. He uses their own rope to tie up the thugs, and Amelia frees the captured elf. After the bandits are tied up, Akira wonders who Lord Graham is, so the elf driver explains that he's a nobleman from the largest nation on the Beastfolk continent called Uruk. Akira nods before telling the elf to take the girl back home. The driver hesitates since he's supposed to escort them to the port. However, Knight smells the sea breeze nearby, so they decide to finish the rest of the journey on foot. As they arrive at the port, they get into a ship headed for the Beastfolk continent. Akira looks forward to leveling up in the new land, so Amelia wonders why he wants to get even stronger. He responds that in order to avenge Saren, he must become as strong as he can possibly get. Knight tells him that he can level up in the port city's labyrinth, but they still have a few days before they arrive. While Knight lies down to relax, Amelia is excited because this is her first time traveling by ship. She gets excited to spend a few days relaxing with Akira, but finds him reading a book like a boring old man. Amelia wonders where he got the book from, so Akira explains that he asked her father for it. This leaves her frustrated, thinking Akira is a dummy for not caring about her. Some days later, they finally reach the port city of Uruk in the Beastfolk continent. night. When they get off the ship, Akira notices that all the manual labor is being done by humans, which shows that the beastmen look down on humans. While they walk away from the port, some beastmen approach them and order Akira to leave Amelia with them. Akira tells her to stay back. The beastmen rush toward him, but Akira calmly wraps his hand in shadow magic and blinds them instantly. While they struggle in confusion, he quietly leaves the place with Amelia. Knight wonders why Akira was so gentle with these goons, so he explains that he just didn't want to draw any attention. As they walk through the streets, the people around them gasp when they see Knight. Akira wonders if they're afraid of him, and Knight explains that black cats are feared throughout this continent. Meanwhile, a strange girl stalks their group from a corner. Afterward, they head to a hotel to spend the night. After having dinner, Akira gets ready to sleep in one of the big beds. However, Amelia thinks the bed is enough for both of them, and Knight leaves to give the two of them some privacy. Akira feels too embarrassed to share the bed with Amelia, but she refuses to take no for an answer and leaves to take a shower. The next morning, Knight returns, thinking Akira must have enjoyed his time. Once he wakes up, he feels confused and is shocked after realizing that Amelia is sleeping next to him. Knight tells them to get dressed, saying that they'll have a visitor. A moment later, a blacksmith called Crow enters their room, and Knight tells them that he was the one who hired him. Crow says that he couldn't refuse a request from the Nightmare of Adlia, and this name confuses Amelia. Knight explains that Crow is the best blacksmith in the world, and the reason why he brought them all to the Beastfolk continent. After the introductions, Crow asks to see Akira's sword. Once he takes a look, Crow realizes that Akira must have damaged it in the Kantanen labyrinth. Amelia is surprised that he can figure all of that out just by looking at it. Akira asks if he can upgrade the sword, so Crow tells him that he'll need the right materials and money for it. Akira agrees to get the goods and asks him to make 20 throwing weapons for him as well. Hearing his requirements, Crow realizes that Akira is an assassin. He praises Akira for his skill, but says that he's too inexperienced to handle his masterpiece weapons. Amelia didn't like Crow's comments, but Akira tells her that Crow isn't wrong about his assumption. Knight also tells her that even though he is now a blacksmith, Crow used to fight in the previous hero's party. After giving Akira the list of materials and costs for his repairs, Crow leaves the room. Knight reassures Akira that Crow is the best person for this job, but he wonders how he'll get all the materials and money required for it. Knight tells him to simply hunt monsters in the labyrinth to gather materials and sell the rest. Akira agrees, thinking it's a good chance to level up his skills as well. Seeing him agree, Knight explains that Uruk City's labyrinth requires a certain adventurer level to enter, so Akira decides to deal with that problem later. Suddenly, Amelia asks if she can talk to Crow, so Akira lets her go. He tells Knight to watch over Amelia before leaving to gather some information about the city. A little while later, Amelia and Knight visit Crow's workshop, who asks why they're visiting him. Amelia mentions that in the previous hero's party, only a beastman and the hero survived after failing to defeat the demon lord, so she believes Crow must have been one of those survivors. Crow nods and reveals that they had an elf in their party too, but he died in the battle. He wonders if Amelia is angry at him for letting her kin die, but she believes that surviving a fight with the demon lord proves he's far stronger than they were. She asks him to teach her how to fight, but Crow quickly turns her down. He explains that he took some other apprentices before, but none of them could endure his harsh training. Amelia promises that she won't quit, saying that she needs to get stronger if she wants to keep up with Akira. However, Crow reminds Knight that he only agreed to blacksmithing requests, not accepting a student. Knight tells him that he doesn't control Amelia's actions and asks Crow to stop addressing him as the Nightmare of Adlia. Crow refuses, saying that Knight is the very symbol of fear that terrified every beastman in the continent. Amelia wonders how Knight got this name, so he explains that over 100 years ago, Adlia City was the biggest in the Beastfolk continent. One day, the demon lord ordered Knight to attack Adlia in order to terrorize the beastmen who had invaded demon territory. Although Knight's mission was just to scare the city's high-ranking officials, he lost himself to his instincts and killed innocent civilians living there. Because of all the suffering Knight inflicted on their innocent, the beastmen started calling him the Nightmare of Adlia, a symbol of destruction for years to come. Back in his room, Akira learns about this entire story since he is linked to Knight's thoughts through their bond. Meanwhile, as Knight finishes the story, he reveals that he had lost hope in himself after that tragedy. However, after meeting Akira, he feels confident that he can control himself from going wild again. Crow is surprised as he notes that Knight has changed, while the cat admits he's guilty of many crimes. However, Knight says that he won't let himself die now, since he wants to serve his new master. Crow tells him that he doesn't hold a grudge against him, but the story is incomplete. He recalls meeting Knight after Adlia's destruction when he was paying his respects at his sister's grave. Knight allowed Crow to take revenge by killing him, but Crow refused, saying that Knight was only used as a tool by the Demon Lord. Then, Crow told Knight that he wasn't the person who killed his sister, but another beastman from the same city. It turns out that after Knight left Adlia, Crow's sister tried to help all the people who were injured or stuck. However, one of the nobles of that city was afraid that Knight would return, so he rushed his carriage to escape. In his hurry, the man rushed towards a group of injured people, so Crow's sister asked him to slow down. Unfortunately, that cold-hearted noble burned her alive along with many others, ruthlessly taking her life just to save a few seconds for his own selfish gain. Although Crow felt enraged that Lord Graham took his sister away, he didn't take revenge because he thought his sister wouldn't want it. Amelia thinks the whole story is tragic, so Crow tells her he doesn't need her sympathy. However, she tells him that she feels bad for his sister, saying that he's using her as an excuse for escaping his duty. She points out that Crow only assumed that his sister wouldn't want revenge, even though it was his responsibility to avenge her death. Crow gets angered by her words, but she tells him she used to feel the same way some time ago. However, Akira helped her see that by ignoring her sister's feelings, she was only hurting her even more. Hearing this, Crow remains silent for a bit before asking her to leave. Meanwhile, Akira decides to use conceal to sneak into the restricted labyrinth. Suddenly, an explosion rings out nearby, and a crowd of beastmen runs away from the area as dragons fly out. Watching the scene from afar, Knight and Amelia rush towards the city. Suddenly, giant monsters come out of the city's labyrinth, killing innocent people. Amelia rushes to help them and asks Knight to evacuate as many people as he can. As Knight runs away, a strange boy riding a worm calls out to Amelia. When she turns around, she finds out that it's the same boy who tricked Kilika during her childhood. The boy introduces himself as Orim before saying that the Demon Lord has ordered him to keep Amelia alive. He orders his worm to capture her, while in another spot, Akira fights off the vicious monsters. Suddenly, Knight informs him that Amelia has been captured and taken into the labyrinth. This shocks Akira and rushes to grab another sword from a fallen beastman. Knight soon returns and Akira says that they need to clear out the beasts outside before heading into the labyrinth and tells Knight to stand back. Soon, he unleashes a massive version of the shadow spell called Shadow Hell, which surrounds the entire city and slays every single monster there. As he wipes out the monsters, Akira roars in anger, surprised by how intense his emotions have become. Once the spell fades, he collapses from sheer exhaustion. That was episode 5. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.